Well, it's time for episode 287 of the 3-Point Podcast, man, presented by the Memorial Healthcare Wellness Center. Check out memorialhealthcare.org for everything they offer. Don't forget, sign up for their winter membership sale, 15% off. Tell them 3-Point Podcast sent you. Also want to thank our local partners, AZee Branding Solutions, Jacobs Insurance Agency, Kori Shook and Associates Real Estate Services, Nelson House Funeral Homes, Rivals Taphouse and Grille, and Success Group Mortgage and Servicing. For those of you viewing this, it's Halloween. We're recording Halloween night, having some fun.
Yeah.
Peter Pan, happy thoughts. Michigan fans, happy thoughts, and you can fly into the college football playoff.
Is it bad that I didn't realize now that it seems obvious it's Peter Pan? I just thought you were like an elf or something.
No, Peter Pan. Yep. Themed, when you start having kids, it's kind of become a thing to do the themed costumes.
Was your daughter Tinkerbell?
Yep. My daughter, she kind of has picked the last couple years. She chose Tinkerbell. So then she wanted me to be Peter Pan. Wesley's Captain Hook. And then my wife is Wendy Darling. So you guys, I don't have to show you the tights that I have under. Oh, wow. Under
I'd prefer not to see it, to tell you the truth.
You look like you're like Three Blind Mice, Dad, like with those sunglasses. It really does look like you can't see anything out of them. But
yeah, they're coming off pretty quick.
When he hopped in the recording, that's what I didn't know what the wig was going for, and then I saw the shirt and the hat, and I was like, okay, he's a hippie. Classic Ted.
Hippie.
You guys didn't even realize I was wearing a costume, which I guess is, it's kind of, all of it's kind of hidden. Binoculars. And then obviously I got Connor Stallion's nice top secret Michigan manifesto.
Oh, yeah.
I guess a lot of the more of the, and I got khakis too, but that kind of all gets cut off by the screen.
Well, you're being
a good Halloween. Halloween really, I feel like at this point in my life, kind of just another day. But to you, Matt, it's kind of one of the bigger days of the year. It would seem like when you got a whole family.
It is. It's, Ted, you definitely remember this. And Jared, you're kind of going through, when you're in college or high school, college age, whatever, you're going to some parties, different than trick-or-treating. You're going to college parties and doing, maybe even going to bars or some other stuff like that for Halloween. And then you transition to, if you do have a family, it turns into trick-or-treating and stuff like that. So my daughter, she's basically 7. She's going to be 7 in a week. She's going to be 8 in a week. She is 7. Halloween's the coolest thing in the world to her right now. The dressing up, the trick-or-treating, and seeing everyone's costumes. Everyone, before we went out trick-or-treating, people were starting to come to our front door. She was running to the door, telling them all happy Halloween, telling them where the candy is and all that kind of stuff. So it is fun. It's kind of like you're getting to relive it through their eyes type of thing. Because I used to love Halloween, going around. We've probably talked about it before. We used to always go to the Elsa Meyer neighborhoods when I was growing up. We'd go around the Elsa Meyer neighborhoods and just hit up all those houses. I know Crestview was clutch. That was another big
it's kind of funny. It's kind of depressing also in the same. I remember when I was a kid, it used to be popping. And then by the time I was getting older, it's like it's kind of like, the scene in Cars when Radiator Springs goes from this popping like place right off the highway, right off Route 66. Then the new exit the new highway comes and nobody ever goes through there anymore. Right. So I don't know what happened, but it's not really what it once was.
Do you rate
maybe 2 trick-or-treaters a year now?
As a kid, do you rate Halloween equal with Christmas, just below Christmas, ahead of Christmas? Where do you rate it when you're a kid?
Again, for me, it was up there. And like I said, kind of reliving it through my daughter's eyes. I'd almost say it is up there with Christmas. The excitement she had, every little piece of candy she was getting, planning out what she wants to eat. And she got excited because a couple of pieces were some of her friends' favorite candies. So she's excited to take those to school.
Trade.
So, it's got to be up there with Christmas.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
Can I complain about how, Matt, you don't have to deal with it right now, but we were talking about it before the pod. The weather is, it's like 30 degrees outside right now. It took a turn on Halloween. Every year it's freezing. Can we change the day? I get it if it has to be technically on 31st, but it should be the first week of October is really when Halloween should be every year.
It is a little bit of a downer. I remember being a kid and, you're excited for your costume or whatever. And then you have to wear your winter coat over your costume to go trick-or-treating. It's a little bit of a buzzkill, but
I mean, your Peter Pan costume would be a green hat with tights and a black coat. It's like, what even are you?
Right.
Yeah. If they are going to move it, and they've talked about it, they still may down the road at, moving it to the last Saturday of October. But I tend to agree with you. If they're going to move it, why not move it to mid-October? You got the leaves still on the trees, still decent weather. You got all that color, and I don't know. It's not a bad idea. I don't know if they'll ever do it, but it's not a bad thought.
Because usually early mid-October, you're still getting those Indian summer days where it's still pretty warm and stuff. So I was going to ask you guys something, again, the 3-generation thing. So I saw something that was interesting. We went this past Sunday to a little event in town. They had bounce house and a spooky trail and, some food trucks and stuff like that. But they had some cars set up for trunk or treat.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you did. There was 8 cars probably. And, you walk through and you do your little trick or treating, but trunk or treat.
Right.
I saw something, I don't know, probably on Twitter that trunk or treat is ruining Halloween. And at first I was like, oh geez, here we go. Another one of these downer type of things. But it actually made me think, because one of my favorite things about Halloween was, like I said, going to those neighborhoods in Corona and basically just almost having a night to run around house to house with your friends or family, whoever you're with. Exciting because you're in your costumes, getting candy, and it's fun when older people would come to their door and be like, oh, look at your costumes, and you'd interact with people, and all that stuff was just so cool about Halloween. And now it's just kind of, the trunk or treat is becoming very popular. You just go boop 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 down the line. People kind of decorate their cars, but sometimes it's a little corny or whatever, and then it's over.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of, so we still went around our neighborhood and some people were still doing stuff, but even that, people are starting to change to just putting a bowl in their on their front porch and just saying take one. So you just walk up, grab candy, and then leave.
Which those never,
and
I saw it at firsthand when I was a kid. Those get ransacked.
Yeah,
the very first person that sees it.
No good.
So what do you guys think? So Jared, you're kind of the generation trunk or treat was coming around. Is trunk or treat ruining it? Ted, you were old school. You were going house to house. What do you think about that?
I will never participate in a trunk or treat event. Those sound horrible. And even if you're one of the lame people, you would see kids nowadays with parents. I don't know if it's probably the parents' fault, where they're driving from house to house. Kid runs out, runs back into the car. They drive 5 feet forward, runs back out, runs back into the car. I hate it. Yeah. The whole trick or treat thing is that ringing on the doorbell, opening it up. That's what it is. Yeah. Just going around for 20 minutes and getting the same amount of candy from a few different people standing outside their car. It sucks. Yeah. I hate those events. I know it's a lot of times it's churches and things, but it's not, I don't get it.
Yeah, I have noticed that churches have done it where it's not even on Halloween, Halloween night, which I'm okay with that. But I think the overall knocking on neighbors and doing the trick or treat thing, though I have noticed this year, for some reason, about half of the kids that came up to the door didn't say trick or treat. I mean,
what do they even say?
That's old school.
They're just ringing the doorbell.
They just ring the doorbell, and I don't know. That's kind of lame, but I'm old school with it. I'm right with Matt, because when I was a kid, I grew up across from the football field. I was on that first ward in Corona, and it was just mad scramble, house to house to house to house. Just fill up that bag of candy and then dump it on the floor when you got home and trade it with your brothers and sisters. Yep. Hey, I want that. You can have this,
Yep. That's what made it fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ted, I will say, I saw we posted the picture of our different throwback Halloween costumes. Yours, it was something out of a Michael Myers movie. It was, what was that? JFK? They look like the creepiest thing I've ever seen.
I gotta be honest, before you say, when you texted it to me and you said JFK, I had to zoom in and be like, what the heck is he talking about? That, and then I saw the mask and I was like, okay, because I thought the same thing. I was like, is this zombie JFK? Is this something creepy?
No, it was JFK all the way. Even had this, the suit kind of the pullover suit.
Now, did you get clowned for that costume, or was that just an everyday costume back then?
No, no kids got clowned for those type of things. We had some lame-o costumes. I will say that. It was the old plastics with the rubber band around the back of your head that you could barely breathe. You're going from house to house, flipping that thing up and then flipping it back down. But
which is funny. So JFK, obviously, Jared and I don't even know what the heck you know, what it was like back then. He was like larger than life, right? So to think of a kid, like, did your parents want you to be JFK, or was JFK so cool that you as a kid wanted to be JFK?
No, it was a no choicer.
Okay.
It was from the parents for sure. Yeah. I mean, they were big John F. Kennedy fans. We were a Kennedy household, and, it was devastating because I'm not 100% sure. Looking at how tall I was, it might have been 1962. He was assassinated in 63, but it could have been 63. Possibly.
I tell you what, you're complaining about the trick-or-treaters not saying trick or treat. If you showed up to my front door wearing that, I would drop the bowl and run inside. So I don't know what's worse, man.
Oh, man.
Good stuff. Yeah. Well, we got to get into a little bit about the candy, right? Yep. Top 3 candy choices. Do we want to stagger this? How do we want to do this?
We'll do it. We'll do it the snake draft style.
All right.
Like we usually do. I'll start with my number 1. My number 1's easy. Yep. I mean, it's a no-brainer. It's my number
there's
1.
A clear-cut 1-1 pick here. So if you don't take it, then I think you already lost the draft. So we'll see.
Yep. It's my daughter does not like this candy. So whenever she gets it, she's always like, "Daddy, I got you something."
Oh.
It's anything Reese's peanut butter cup. The Reese's pumpkin, just a classic peanut butter cup, whatever. It's Reese's peanut butter cup, whatever shape it is. That's the clear number 1.
The pumpkin, you really can't beat the pumpkin shape. I mean, or football. I mean, I can't say I've ever really had the football variety, but they look great.
Yep.
Who's going second? You gonna go, Jared?
Second. I mean, geez, you put me in second. I think the second pick is the worst pick to be in this draft, for what it's worth. But I'll throw it out there anyway. I mean, number 1, it's got to be. It's a lame. I think chocolate is the weaker division, but I'm gonna have to go with what my number 1 in my heart is. That's Skittles. Can't beat Skittles. Classic. I mean, it was a bad candy, especially to have on Halloween night. You wake up, even as a little kid, heartburn after eating a few bags of those, but they were good, man. And the thing is with Skittles, I always liked them for
how many Skittles did you eat?
Well, you eat a whole bag of, a lot, really. I don't know, more than 1 bag's worth, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about the reason I like Skittles as a Halloween pick is because you think about when you're handing out the candy, all the other, it's like one little miniature bite of Hershey's or Reese's. Right. The Skittles, you actually got, 15 pieces in there.
Yeah.
So I always love having those because it's worth a little bit more bang for your buck in the fun size variety. So Skittles, my number 1 pick.
Not bad. I've come around on Skittles too. For a while there, I didn't really care for them, but I've grown a taste for them. So that's a good solid selection.
Back to back, Ted.
Okay, back to back. I'll make it fairly quick. Reese is obviously gone, so I'm gonna go kind of a similar vein. Butterfinger. I got some chocolate. You got some peanut butter.
That's
nugget.
A bad pick.
Bad pick. I love.
You could have had that in round 3. You could have.
That's like picking a kicker in round 1.
Well, I get 2 picks in a row, by the way. So Butterfinger, and then I'm going to just go with Kit Kat. If you want to eat a whole Kit Kat bar, you can. You want to break off a piece and share, nothing like it. It's got that good crunchy value to it.
That's a good one.
Yep.
So this is a bit of a clarification. Is with Matt taking Reese's, are all type of Reese's off the board, or can I select a different type?
Off the board.
That's fair.
All Reese's.
So I'll go with my second pick. I will go peanut M&Ms. Which
specifically peanut
off the board, Ted. Peanut M&M is the best. Here's the thing. This is maybe cheating because they weren't my favorite thing when I was a kid. But I mean, if I was going trick or treating tomorrow, that's what I would be hunting down, maybe more than even Skittles. So I mean, peanut M&Ms, you can't beat them. Underrated candy when you're a kid, but you grow to appreciate them more and more as you get older. They're the number 1 candy, in my opinion, right now in my life.
Classic. I mean, I would lean peanut butter M&Ms. If I was picking M&Ms, just because of the same Reese's thing, but you can't go wrong with peanut either. So if I'm going back to back to finish off my 3, so Reese is obviously number 1. I would have went Kit Kat, but you took that. So my next one will be 3 Musketeer. I've always loved 3 Musketeer. I'm not a big Snickers.
I don't know, man. That might be up there with Butterfinger.
I'm not a big Snickers fan. I don't like the peanuts and everything else in there. And then Milky Way just seems like the odd brother, left out or whatever. So 3 Musketeer. And then my third one, it's something sour, whether it's sour Skittles, but I would lean Sour Patch Kids. I love Sour Patch Kids. I like sour stuff. So that's my 3: Reese's, 3 Musketeer, Sour Patch Kids.
I mean, here's the thing that sucks is I think your other two picks weren't the greatest, but just having the pumpkin Reese's, you probably won the draft. So
Solid draft.
Very smart snagging that first overall selection. I'm gonna go with my last pick. I don't love this pick, but I'm kind of drawing a blank on some of my favorites right now, but I'll go with it. I don't hate it. Twix, they're great. I feel like it's a candy I'll never go to the grocery store and buy or to the gas station. But if you find them in your sack on Halloween, it's not one of them that you're trading away. That's for sure. So Twix. That's my final third pick.
Kind of a poor man's Kit Kat, isn't it?
A little bit of caramel.
I'd argue it's better. There's more to it. Caramel, crunch. True. Kit Kats were my favorite kid when I was a kid, but as I've gotten smarter, older, more wise, they're no longer up at the top of that list.
Your general manager of candy bars.
Yeah.
Snickers was almost going to be my pick, but I'm going to just flash back to when I was a kid, and I still like this candy bar. It's Payday. I just like my Payday. Wow.
Payday. I don't think I've ever had a Payday in my life.
Every one of your picks, Matt, is slapped. I'm appreciating it. I'm loving it. I'm like on the outside looking in for once.
Payday.
I love Payday.
What's Payday? Is it with peanuts or what? I don't even know what is in a Payday.
Yeah, it's peanuts, caramel nugget. It's good energy thing. Okay. Yeah, I keep Paydays in the glove box of my car just in case I have to have something.
You're like Paul Blart, man. Like you need like a sugar rush. Like
absolutely.
It's a little blast of sugar. A little protein.
Exactly. Don't make fun of my Payday. We all have our picks.
I think it's glaring to know that your energy booster, when some maybe go for like a fruit or vegetable, yours is Payday bar. That's telling.
Everyone's got their thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. This hair is going to make me sneeze here in a minute. Yeah. So another good Halloween in the books, boys. I mean, Jared, you were talked about. You went to a party the other night. We want to wrap this segment up. Fill us in a little bit on that and how you felt the next day.
Ted's just looking for inside stories here about company party, Halloween.
Oh, it was a good time. It was a good time. I would say my costume was a big hit. Yeah, I mean it's topical, man. I think that the kind of the most topical costumes I've been seeing that I'm like, that's a good idea. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. Can't beat that as a couple's costume. And Connor Stallions in this state. I mean, random people were throwing comments at me. I got a few cheaters as I was walking around the bar. So no, it was a good time. I felt pretty good yesterday. Honestly, it was kind of one of those. These are the most glorious days you can have. You drink a lot. You wake up. You kind of look around like I am not hungover. What is going on? So you only get a few of those in your lifetime. So it was awesome.
Well, good deal. But I don't you think? I mean, that's a solid costume, but man, you see it all over the internet. It's all over Twitter. People are wearing.
I don't know if it was when I came up with it. I was like, you know what? That's a brilliant idea.
Wow,
came up with it, man.
It's topical. I will give you that.
Yeah. I've seen.
I already had half the costume.
And that's the best part about it. All you need is the name tag, some binoculars.
Bought a pair of
binoculars. Yep.
Good deal.
All right. Well, let's keep this thing cruising along. Let's have our prep spotlight presented by Jacobs Insurance Agency coming up next.
Are you ready to take your brand to the next level? Look no further. Introducing AZee Branding Solutions, where we help grow your brand from A to Z. At AZee, we're committed to helping businesses and organizations like yours reach new heights. Our full-service print and digital branding agency is your one-stop destination for all things branding. Need a stunning web or graphic design that captures your essence? We've got you covered. Want captivating social media content that engages your audience? Done. And that's not all. We're experts in video production and photography, ensuring your brand tells a compelling visual story. Plus, we specialize in screen printing and embroidery, turning your brand into wearable art that speaks volumes. Whether you're a startup or an established business, AZee is here to transform your brand dreams into reality. Ready to grow with us? Partner with AZee today and experience the difference. Visit our website at www.azee.co or give us a call at 1-844-360-AZEE. AZee Branding Solutions, where your success begins.
All right, guys, we'll jump right into it. We'll start right with the Corunna Cavaliers, 45-7 over Flint Hamady. Both teams came into the game unbeaten. Corunna leaves 10-0. Jaden Eddington was a man on a mission, 151 yards, couple touchdowns, 24 carries. It's one of the rare games this year. Wyatt Bauer got off to a pretty slow start. Hamady was really concentrating on shutting him and Tarek down early on. So Eddington took care of business from there. Wyatt did hit his first two passes. Ironically enough, they were TD passes to his twin brother. And, they started rolling at that point. And then I think they just basically wore down Hamady. They had two or three decent players. I mean, good players, but Corunna wore them down at home. And again, a nice victory to move into another battle of unbeatens with Pontiac Notre Dame coming up next.
It seems like from listening to it that kind of like what you said, maybe Wyatt and the team in general got out to a little bit of a slow start.
Yep.
And not necessarily that Hamady surprised them, but they kind of jumped on them from the start. I mean, they went up 7-0, right? And Corunna was maybe scuffling a little bit. And from the call anyway, listening, it was almost sounding like, uh-oh, how is this game going to go? And then next thing you know, 45-7. So
yeah.
I think sometimes it happens, man. I think they maybe got a little too cute with it. That was actually the first game I've watched.
Oh, you were there?
I watched parts of Goodrich, but this is the first game I've watched every second. First, I'll say this. After seeing this team start to finish, I mean, it's surprising. A lot of these guys who have kind of really come into their own. I saw a lot of these guys as little tykes.
Mm-hmm.
They got a lot of really tough football players on the team. Really good linebacking core. Like you mentioned, Eddington, runs like a man possessed. You got to love watching him play. Oh. Perfect little thunder and lightning duo, him with Wyatt. And here's what I'll say about, Wyatt is it's electric to watch him play, man. He could take it to the house at any point. And the way I look at it, from what I saw, they're a lot better than what I had originally thought. With him leading the way, I can say this because I'm not a part of the program. I really don't think they're going to be touched until Ford Field. I really think that. I'm not worried about Friday. Yeah. If this is Michigan versus Ohio State, that's kind of how I'd view it. It's like I think Corunna should win this game, probably by 2 scores. I know Notre Dame Prep's a good team, but they don't have a Division I or arguably Division I quarterback on their team. I know he's a good player, but it's just not the same level. So the way I'm looking at it, man, I think Corunna's really looking solid heading into this weekend. How do you feel, Ted, after seeing it?
Well, it was a little bit. I got a little nervous. I got to be honest. In that first quarter, both teams were playing solid defense. They weren't really moving the ball much. But I agree with you. This team has so many weapons that it's going to take a special team or a special night with maybe some bad weather. Bad weather possibly could be a factor. You got to hold on to the ball, as you saw in that game. Corunna has a tendency, which I'm not going to say stop because they have a chip on their shoulder. And there's a couple players that really do, which is all right because that fires them up. That's how they operate. Just got to be very careful in these situations to not get kicked out of a game. Not only are you kicked out for that game, then you got a penalty in the next game if you happen to win. So they got to watch that a little bit. But I think Coach Herrick, he wants them to have that edge. They're confident. And they know that if they're tested, just go about their business, and they got enough talented players to pick up the W.
I know you guys were mentioning that on the broadcast quite a bit about when the game was clearly in hand and it was getting a little chippy. You guys were mentioning a few times, like, keep your cool, guys. You do not want to get a dumb penalty, first of all, and then maybe be kicked out of the next game. And sometimes, it's tough to do that when you're in the moment, the heat of the moment.
It is.
And, you're getting shoved a little bit or something like that. But yeah, kind of to both of your guys' point. And we've talked about it. I've talked to friends, about it. It seems like maybe like what you said, Jared, maybe until they get to Ford Field against one of those Grand Rapids teams, anytime Corunna steps on the field right now, they have the 2 best athletes on the field. And maybe you could even add Jaden in there and say 3rd, but definitely the Bauer twins. At least right now, when you talk about just overall athletes, the speeds, track state champions, and how good they are on the football field, like you said, Jared, arguably a D1 quarterback. I don't know if anyone can for 4 quarters match up with what they have. And like you said, if a team does somewhat stop the pass, they can run with Wyatt, they can run with Jaden, and even Parker Isham, is a pretty good, if you want to say 3rd string or, 2nd, 3rd string running back. So And if they're shutting down the run, then they can go full air it out and just bomb the ball all over the place. So they're as complete a team as there is, great kicker too. So you mentioned the defense, Jared. I was talking to some friends too. You brought up Coach Herrick, and it's something that, and it's not to keep bringing back 2002 or whatever, but it's crazy to see the parallels and how similar this district is to ours back then.
Yeah.
Of course, with Coach Herrick was our coach. We were 10-0 going into that district title game against a team in Grand Rapids South Christian that was supposed to be as good, or kind of like similar.
They won the state title, so they were
right. Well, like at the time, you didn't know that they were going to, but kind of like Notre Dame Prep is kind of what I'm saying. Clash of two of the better teams in the district. The team that beat us went on to win the state title, like you said, Jared, and it kind of feels like that's what this game is setting up to be. That whoever wins this game has a pretty good path to get to Ford Field. You never know what's going to happen, but it's something that, I'd be curious to ask Coach Herrick again, maybe what he's learned since then, to take that loss, our loss in 2002, and say, like, have you learned anything from that? Like, do you look back on that and maybe think of some things you would have done differently that you're taking into this game? I would just be, maybe that's more a personal thing, but I would be curious to ask him, like, hey, 20 years ago, you were in basically the exact same situation and we lost. What would you change, or what are you doing to prepare for this game? It's just cool. It's really cool to see Corunna in this position.
That'd be a fair question to ask, but just from my viewpoint and how I've watched him on the sidelines, and I did some games early in the season down on the field, just watching him operate. You can see that obviously with the years of experience, maybe not years of experience as head coach, but being in the program all these years after that first run when he coached you, Matt, you can see that there's a calmness, there's a confidence, and it just goes right down to the rest of the team. You don't want a coach that's going to be a screamer or, nervous out there. And he seems to have good control of this team. And again, heads up, or a salute to Steve Herrick's done a heck of a job this year so far.
Yeah, it's impressive. And this game, talking to some friends again about this game Friday night in Corunna at the Nick, 10-0 versus 10-0. There's a good amount of guys from the 2002 team that haven't been back to Corunna very often since we graduated that are going to Corunna for this game. That's how big it is.
It's big.
Some friends that live in the area said at like 5 o'clock, people were already starting to line up, and they were like, we're going to go to the stadium at 4:30, 5 o'clock to make sure that we get our spots. And it's just super cool to see. I was going to lay out a little tail of the tape real quick for people that maybe don't know some of the stats. I looked some up. So tail of the tape, Corunna versus Notre Dame Prep. Point differential is actually pretty similar. Corunna 452 points scored to 59 given up. Ted, you can maybe fact check me on that one. Notre Dame Prep 429 scored on offense, only 82 given up. So point differential for both teams pretty similar.
Yep.
The quarterback battle, though, that we've talked about, honestly, you can make an argument this might be one of the biggest quarterback matchups in the state. Ted, you said you think the winner is going to be first team All-State.
Very possible.
Wyatt Bauer completing 72% of his passes, 1,900 yards passing, 23 touchdowns, only 3 picks. It's just insane. Oh, and then throwing 845 yards rushing and 15 rushing touchdowns.
And only been sacked. He hasn't been sacked, but it was a ref mess up on Friday night. So in my book, he's been sacked 1 time. But that maybe is the most impressive stat of the year, really. I don't know how that's possible. I really don't.
Yeah, one time to not have a blitzer come in and bring you down.
Yeah, like crazy. How does that? Honestly, that's it doesn't even make sense, really. But you can keep going.
Yep, over there. So for Notre Dame Prep, again, their quarterback Jacob Tuttle. He's just as much of a stud as Wyatt is. 83% completion percentage, 1,300 yards passing, so a little less, 26 touchdowns. The crazy stat is he has more touchdown passes than he has incompletions this season. And he also has 8 rushing touchdowns. So honestly, it seems like it's going to come down to which quarterback shows up, which quarterback has, essentially like their best game of the season.
Yeah.
You hope whichever one doesn't turn the ball over and that kind of thing. It's crazy. Obviously I took a couple other noteworthy wins. So obviously Corunna, Goodrich, Fenton, Hamady, probably their 3 biggest wins this season.
Right.
Notre Dame Prep crushed Gladwin, defending state champion D5, who did get put out last week. So maybe they're not up to their state championship level this year. They destroyed Detroit Edison 51-0, who is still in the playoffs right now. And then they, kind of beat Williamston pretty handily last week too. Williamston, a strong program. So, I mean, this is as even as it comes. Like Jared, you kind of said Michigan, Ohio State. It feels like it's something like that for Corona and Notre Dame Prep.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think it's coming down to the defense. And I think this is where Corona, they get pub for their defense, but they are very strong defensively, that up front, the front five, the linebackers, and, anybody that throws a pass up anywhere near Wyatt or Tarek, they're going to be in trouble. So I think the defense.
I did like your guys' commentary where Hamady, I mean, a solid squad, not perfect.
Right.
I will say they're the only team I've ever seen run I formation out of the shotgun. That was
different.
But they were running the ball. Their one play action pass they were setting up all game. They run it right to Tarek. It's just an easy pick. And you guys were right on it. It's like maybe I would have tested the other side, maybe instead of him, but so be it. So that was so it's really exciting, man. I can't wait to see it. I'm knock on wood, I'm 99% sure I'm going to be there in attendance.
Nice. Good deal. Well, we'll see you there. Before we wrap up this segment, it's not just all Corona. I mean, Chesaning, 9-1 now, 31-12 over Stanton Central Montcalm. Indians won their 9th straight game after losing the opener against Bath. Braden Florian, man, he's putting up all-state type of numbers in his running back position, 233 yards, a couple more touchdowns, and Indians are –
what a cool story, man.
Yeah, you think back to 2001 when they won the state championship, their second state championship, lost their first game of the year to Millington. They're one of their rivals at that time, and they ran the table from that point on. And this Chesaning team, we've said a few things about New Lothrop flying under the radar, but this Chesaning Indian team, maybe not under the radar. I think they were ranked 4th or 5th in their division, but they've done a heck of a job for Matt Walter over there.
And that, I mean, are they going to be? They're going to be hosting the game this weekend, right? I mean,
I believe so.
Yeah,
had a lot of maybe the best weekend in Mid-Michigan Shiawassee County sports, Ted, that you've had.
Yeah,
as a broadcaster, right? I mean, it's got to be up there.
Very well could be, because we didn't even talk about it. New Lothrop is hosting Ithaca.
Yep.
Right.
Which is insane because Ithaca right now is undefeated.
Right.
So obviously the whole point situation and all that kind of stuff plays out. But New Lothrop hosting Ithaca. I looked up Ithaca right now. So New Lothrop's only loss this year is to Chesaning, who you were just talking about.
Right. They were an interception at the goal line away from winning that game too.
Right. So a heck of a game there. That's New Lothrop. We talked about New Lothrop flying under the radar a little bit, maybe not being talked about as much. So this is going to be a battle. Ithaca right now, I was doing some math at work today. I had a little time to kill. Ithaca's point differential right now, 474 points scored to only 73 given up. Ithaca is just a powerhouse program, man. That's a heck of a game right there.
And it's weird to see those teams both in D8. I mean, I would say that's the D8 championship. I mean, I know there's some other good teams on the other side, like I think Obley and Centerville, those type of schools. But I mean, Clint Galvis and New Lothrop versus Ithaca, like you said, powerhouse program for as long as I've been alive. I mean, it's just what a fun matchup that is. It really is.
Yeah. Well, we talked about it. I mean, the Corona district of death, but there was about 3 districts of death, and that one there, Ithaca beat Fowler by 1 to get to this game.
Well, yeah, and I mean, that was even a last second or towards the end of the game anyway. It took a crazy comeback for Ithaca, right, to pull that off. So, I mean, that's an awesome game. And then I know you were kind of probably getting to it. Ovid Elsie is also still alive, and they're playing Lansing Catholic Central. I'm pretty sure Ovid Elsie is hosting that game also.
Yep.
So that you're talking about games in Mid-Michigan. You got Ovid Elsie, Chesaning, Corona, New Lothrop, all hosting playoff games. That's pretty cool.
And isn't Lansing Catholic 4-6?
Yeah, they were 3-6.
I would love to know that school's record against Shiawassee County schools. It might be 800-0. They win every year. They're 3-6. We saw it last year against Durand. They stumbled into playoffs, upset Durand. 9-0. I mean, it looks like they're doing the same thing this year, and they got another Shiawassee County opponent up next. Trice Toka, our guy.
Yep. Yeah, he had a hand in each touchdown in their win.
You knew he did. You knew he did.
Absolutely. And you talk about LCC or Lansing Catholic. I mean, they beat Durand and Ovid Elsie last year to win the district, and they're in position to possibly do it again, coming into the playoffs with a kind of a poor record, but it just shows you the kind of competition they play.
How cool would it be if all 4 of those teams won? Corona, New Lothrop, OE, and Chesapeake all win districts on the same night.
I'll tell you one thing:
the castle wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah, I was going to say the radio station phone lines will be lit up. I know that for sure.
Is there a world could you guys split the booth up? I don't know, but no, you guys all want to be at Corona, so I'm not even going to put that in the universe. You guys want to be at the Corona game.
That'd be kind of tough to do. There was a time in the past where we would have Joe Smith at another stadium and he'd be calling in reports. And then depending on if the game got over before the other one, he would actually do play-by-play at the end of the game to bring everybody up to speed. We did that quite a bit in the back in the heyday of the castle.
I would say the golden era. Yeah, when the Garden was eaten.
It was the golden era. Perry, we talked about them taking on PW. We knew it was probably going to be a loss, but I think they represented pretty well for a first-time playoff appearance. You know, PW got them 47-9, but hey, nothing to be ashamed of. That was nice to kind of set the stage over there for their Coach Bott.
Yeah, I was, texting family and, my family members who were up there watching that game. And first of all, one of the comments that my parents made was how just so nice that community and the drive up there is. They were just commenting on the farmland and just how nice the town, the houses, the school, obviously the football facility. They were just commenting on how nice that is. And then, obviously, didn't go how Perry wanted, but still an awesome experience for those kids.
Just down the road, the Morris Orioles lost a tough one to Deckerville. Probably the home field advantage, the difference in that one, 46-40. So the O's finished 7-3 for Kendall Crockett. But man, he's developed quite a 8-man program over there in Morris for sure.
Yeah, I mean, state championship a couple of years ago. Yeah, not bad.
And that's one of those schools. I mean, a lot of people kind of, bitch about 8-man. I look at Morris and you remember what they were, when I was in school, and it's like they would go 0-9, 0-9. Right. They'd be forfeiting games basically at halftime against New Lothrop. Then they go to 8-man and it's like they're a power in 8-man. It's just kind of cool to see. So it's just shows that, 8-man, it's not quite 11-man, but still pretty damn good football.
It is good football.
Cool, and it's good for a lot of those schools too.
Absolutely. I've had a chance to broadcast some of the 8-man game, and it's really, you don't really see much difference other than a little narrower field, but it's a wide open type of game. And again, Morris has figured it out. And finally, locally, we had Langsburg losing by 2 to Bass, 16-14 in a battle of a couple of CMAC schools. So the Wolfpack finished 4-6 on the season, but they really have a decent program going. Also, one final thing here in cross country, Owasso girls finished 3rd in the D2 regionals at DeWitt High School. They qualified for the state finals at MIS, and the Langsburg girls also qualified in D3. Well, let's move on from the prep spotlight and let's go right into the meat and potatoes of sports potpourri, and we might even just talk a little bit about Jim Harbaugh right after this.
Jacobs Insurance Agency has served Shiawassee County and the surrounding areas since 1977. Just like 3 Point Podcast, we've had 3 generations: Gary Jacobs Sr., Gary Jacobs II, Brian Jacobs, and myself, Noah Jacobs, serving our community with offices in Waterford and Owasso on M21, just west of Home Depot. Stop in or go online to jacobsinsurance.com to get a quote or get your questions answered by our team. Jacobs Insurance is a proud supporter of our local schools and the proud sponsor of the Prep Spotlight. Insure everything, local, independent, and trusted. It's our family working together to protect yours. That's the Jacobs way.
Okay, guys, I don't know, by the time this podcast drops, Harbaugh might have a new contract. Who knows, right?
Yeah. I saw, sorry, Jared, I saw that the president, Santo Ono of University of Michigan, just 20 minutes before we started recording or something, tweeted out a picture with him, the president, and Jim Harbaugh and the whole football team in the practice facility. And he had, some sort of quote that said basically like something about supporting the team and something clearly talking about in support of Jim Harbaugh. And it's almost like I don't even know where to start with this. We got Jared over there in a Connor Stallions Halloween costume, and
I got a whole rundown. There's a lot of things that have happened in the last week that I think we need to touch on, just about all of it.
Let's do it.
It's insane. Jared, you got the rundown, but I'll just say quick. It's so crazy how this is spun into. Honestly, this could, Ted, sometimes when we talk about stuff, you say, man, this would make a great 30 for 30. I feel like this might be a 30 for 30 in 10 years or something, because it literally was every night that Jared probably has the rundown of, every night for a week around 6 o'clock, 5:30, 6, 7 o'clock at night, boom, another article would drop with some other insane allegation. And the one thing that I'm just going to keep saying, we don't know exactly what was going on. The facts, the actual stuff that was going on. We know some signs are being stolen. Connor Stallions, Jared over there was up to something, but the actual, how far it was going, we don't know. It's all allegations and stuff right now. So it's crazy to me how many media outlets have just been running with this stuff as if Michigan's cheaters, Jim Harbaugh's cheaters, as if this is all fact. It's all still being investigated. And to me, if the president of U of M and the athletic department are trying to move forward with an extension for him, that tells me that they don't think that the hammer's coming down on Michigan. But I guess
it doesn't.
We'll see.
The news of today makes me feel a lot better. I'll be honest. Here's what, and like you said, Matt, it's like every day it's something new. Every day you don't know what to even talk about. It's like every day my opinion on this changes. Is Harbaugh going to get fired, or is he going to become like the highest paid coach in college football? Every day I change my opinion on it. It seems like. Here's where I'm at with the whole thing, and we've talked about it the last 2 weeks, but it is what I'll just restate what I think. Did they, quote unquote, cheat? By the book, yes. Was it a little bit overboard? Yes. Here's what I've also realized: all these coaches knew this was going on. Whatever. Ohio State, CJ Stroud basically saying, "Yeah, we figured something like that was going on. Obviously, it sucks," or so whatever he ended up saying. A lot of these coaches coming out and talking about it. Deion Sanders. Matt Rule. It's like it almost makes me think like, okay, they're doing something pretty similar. Now, I mean, the latest thing is like there's these quote unquote pictures of Connor Stallions on CMU's sidelines. I mean, what the hell is going on? If that is true, and if that is true, and if this whole they're feeding these signals to South Carolina to beat Clemson and Tennessee, if that is true, I think I'm out on it. I'm like, what were you guys doing? Right. Flat out, what were you guys doing? The fact that they were helping other schools to try to keep other schools out of the college football playoff, that's where I draw the line. I think what they're doing, it's really not a big deal. I mean, notice what happened in the TCU game. TCU, it's almost like you can use it to your advantage. Right. TCU finds out, oh, they're stealing our signs. We're going to make dummy signs. Mm-hmm. And wouldn't you know it, look at what happened on the field. Or you can do that, and I tweeted this out, or you can do what Michigan State did. Act like the whole world ended. You almost shouldn't even play the game. You're so scared. You're running in plays like 1950s wing T style Ted's era. I mean, what are we talking about? This is gamesmanship. And it's crazy seeing how things get. And it's funny how the media has never been like, and we're media people. It's bullshit what's out there. Right. Every day is a new lie. It just got basically ousted that this whole Connor Stallions CMU sideline thing isn't true. You look at his beard from the 2 different days, and it's like he's got like a 5 o'clock shadow a day later when he had a whole. It's like everything, unless he's the smartest guy in the world with these disguises, master of disguise. Right. I mean, it's flat out bullshit. Then you have the news of the Harbaugh's contract being revoked. Total bullshit. Mm-hmm. It's like I've been duped like 5 different times. I don't know what to believe. I really don't. You have the news of Ryan Day's brother investigating Michigan, which I think is kind of hilarious. Right. If he's allowed, why not? If he's allowed to private investigate him, do it. I think it's hilarious. 4th and 1 investigations was the name of the cup. Right. Everything about this is great. As I said when we were pre-recording, you laugh instead of crying. It's clearly they're making a mountain out of a molehill. Yes, Michigan did something wrong. In my opinion, I think Jim Harbaugh deserves a suspension of some sort, whatever, 2 games, 3 games. Honestly, what he got this year seems like the right suspension to me. But judging the fact that was a cheeseburger, I wouldn't surprise if the NCAA goes for a lot more than that. But here's the thing, man. I'm feeling good. I'm sitting pretty today. I mean, it looks like Harbaugh's going to be extended. The fact that he's getting that extension makes me think he's here for the long haul. So it is what it is. I mean, it's not great. It's kind of a bummer that you have this great team, finally a real national championship contender, and no matter what, it's going to be pissed on. So it just kind of sucks, dude, really, if we're being honest.
Yeah, it's hard to argue that, but I do agree with one thing. I think they finally came together, the university I'm talking about, and it appears that they're going to sign him and just deal with whatever penalty they get, right. Fight it or whatever. But, if he's suspended for a year, so what? He's still going to be their coach, and I think finally cooler heads have prevailed, and it's finally going to get rid of these stupid signs that these teams do, and they're going to go to a speaker in them helmet. That's what ultimately is going to happen from all this, right?
You would think, because of everything that's happened with Michigan, of course. Nick Saban came out and said that there needs to be speakers in there. Like you said, Jared, Matt Rule, Deion Sanders, other former players have all said, why are we not doing this? Because I've even heard people say it like affects quarterbacks' development when they go to the NFL, because then, they go to the NFL and they've got the speakers and they've got to like relearn how to, get signals in from the sidelines. Right. So it's just kind of like, why? Well, I mean, the rule, what's crazy is coaches vote on it before every season, apparently, and they're all voting to not have the speakers. So it's kind of funny to hear both sides of that, because people are saying, I think a lot of coaches are not speaking out about Jim Harbaugh or about these speaker things because they're probably doing a lot of the similar stuff that Michigan is doing. So that's why they're just kind of keeping their mouths shut. The thing that it comes down to, Jared, you were kind of alluding to it, and I'm not saying anything that's groundbreaking. I think they found some loopholes in the rules. I would be very surprised if Michigan, with all the lawyers that they have access to and the smart football people that they are, that if they were going to go to do something like this, they didn't dot their I's, cross their T's, and say, let's make sure what we're doing is not literally breaking rules. People say like they bring in the ethics. Well, are they like pushing the boundaries ethically? Maybe. But if it's within the rules, that's maybe where Michigan is saying, I don't think we're really going to be caught doing anything, because I don't think we're going to be seen as doing anything illegal to the NCAA. Yeah, the narrative, like you said, Jared, the narrative, if Michigan goes on to win the Big Ten and the national title, might be cheaters, sign stealers, cheaters. But in the longer run, oh well, if Michigan hangs the banner and has a national championship, I don't really care. I just want to see them win championships, So to me, it seems like that's more what people are out to do, whether it's the media, whether it's other fan bases, whether it's, whoever, people calling it a smear campaign. It seems like that's what people are trying to do. Anything that happens with Harbaugh and Michigan is going to get blown out of proportion. And this clearly has. And it seems like that's people's main intent, is to invalidate everything that Harbaugh and Michigan are going to accomplish this year. And that's what kind of makes a shame of it, because this is a hell of a team.
What it's done is it's really, and I tease this, I guess, but I'll just reiterate it, is it's made me realize, and you were saying that, Matt, it's like painting this like narrative. Well, like the media, I'm so sick of it, man. Mm-hmm. I almost deleted Twitter and Facebook. I'm like, what am I even like? If this just shows, because I'm like, this is a topic I'm actually like pretty educated on, like, and you're seeing it reported on at this national level, like where you see things like, for example, when it first broke, like the big breaking news, Connor Stallions purchased tickets to these games. Like people are like, whoa, they're done. Harbaugh and Michigan are done. What news was broke? Obviously, how else were they going to go to the game? I guess apparently maybe a sideline pass, as we saw at CMU. And then you see it more, it plays out. Even today with the CMU thing. Oh, we're going to investigate this. CMU, we're going to investigate this. Was it him or wasn't? You should be able to know that answer in about 5 minutes.
Yep.
It's just everything about this is so stupid. Then you hear people are just, then you see the video go out there, Emeka Egbuka touchdown, where people are posting that as like evidence mid-game. Michigan looking at Ohio State's sideline, clearly when Ohio State's like audibling out of the play, like that's what else were you supposed to do? That's like just playing football. Yeah, and you're gonna have your sideline react to what you think they're about to call. That's just football. They did nothing wrong, and people are pointing to that video as like evidence, like damning evidence. Same thing with the pictures of Stallions on the sidelines with the signals. Yeah, that's his job. That's people. Everybody has that on the sideline on game day. So again, that has nothing to do with what this was. The problem and what the rule breaking was scouting opponents, basically in person at other games. Nothing about anything going on the sideline in current Michigan games. So the pictures of him, the clipping of it, the people going back and watching these videos, it's like, what are we even doing? It's so stupid. One coach who had a comment that just irked me, and this is what I've always said, I hate Penn State, James Franklin.
Yeah.
Oh, it's funny, man. It was kind of weird how they always seemed to know what was coming. Dude, you look back at that game last year against Penn State. I even went back and looked at the box score. Rushed for 420 yards. I don't think we need to know your signal to run for 420 yards. That's Corona football numbers. That's what that is.
Right.
So I cannot wait to play them this weekend, man. God, or is it next weekend?
Next weekend.
Yeah, I mean, this whole scandal's got my whole brain fried.
Right.
I cannot wait to play them next week and run for 400 again. You know they're going to. Harbaugh did not go unnoticed in Harbaugh's book.
Yeah.
So this whole thing is just funny to me, man. Like I said, I'm viewing it as more hilarious. Like I think state fans and other people, like, they'll try to get you riled up about it. And I'm like, I don't give a shit whether he's guilty or not. This is national championship or bust. None of this scandal affects how I'm going to feel about this season.
Yeah. And we know nothing's going to get solved this season anyway.
Right.
You know, it's going to drag on and on. I mean, I think it was Tim Brando. I saw something on Twitter that it's similar to like Kansas and Bill Self, right? I mean, what happened there? He ended up with just a hand slap, but it dragged on for a long time.
Seriously.
Yeah, and Kansas basically gave him a lifetime contract while the investigation was ongoing also.
Exactly.
So I've seen some people again on Twitter talking about like, how is Michigan going to give Jim Harbaugh an extension while this investigation is going on? It's like, well, that's just showing, Ted, you talked about it last week. That's just Michigan and the athletic department showing their support for their head coach. And
isn't it just like the NCAA? You know that they're in their office whipping papers around. Like that is such a slap in the face that I love it. And again, where's Ward Manuel? I mean, that we don't need to get sidetracked on that thing. Where is this guy? Right. Why is it Ono again coming? Ono, you're a great president. I love everything about you, man. Maybe it's time to make a change. If you're like, do you not see the problem with you having to step in every goddamn inch and all this shit that's going around with this program? I've heard some rumblings that there might be some inner like kind of little finger Lord Baelish type Game of Thrones, Michigan kind of getting imploded from the inside. I don't know. I mean, it is a little suspicious. Every school does this right when the contract's coming around, right when all this stuff. We already know Ward Manuel doesn't like Harbaugh. I'm throwing something I shouldn't be throwing. This is me going back on the whole media thing. I shouldn't even be throwing this out there. But I mean, where did this? Who broke this news? Is it Ohio State? What do you guys think?
That's what was weird. Is that and people were saying is it someone from the inside? People were throwing out this Jim Stapleton guy who now works for like the NCAA at some level, but he's a former Michigan, student, and he worked at Michigan and all that kind of stuff. And him and Harbaugh just do not like each other. So they were saying that this insider was leaking this information. He kind of came out, and actually, John U. Bacon, who is pretty reputable, was one of the first people to say that it's being leaked from the inside. But then you mentioned the investigative firm, Ryan Day's brother. So like, did Ryan Day and Ohio State hire a private investigator to go and do this? And if so, is that legal? Like, how are they?
Kind of brilliant. If that is really how this started, was Ryan Day's freaking brother, I'm like, you know what? Good for you, man. That was fucking brilliant to do that.
Don't you think though it had to be an insider of some sort? Whether it was a fired coach or something. I mean, I don't know. It just seems like it has to be a disgruntled former Wolverine or current Wolverine. It's just not working out. I don't know who or what, but it just has that feel to me.
Right, because like you said, Jared, earlier, like from what we've heard and read, coaches have been saying they've known about this for a while. So it's like, were they just waiting for like their case to build before they released it? Or did finally, did they see maybe an insider, like you're saying, Ted, that Jim Harbaugh was about to get 10-year, 15-year crazy extension. Right. So they were like, nope, don't want that to happen. Boom, I'm leaking this sign stealing stuff. And it's during their bye week. So we know Harbaugh's not going to be making any appearances. And we know that the media is going to just run with it because it is. The headlines are Jim Harbaugh's a cheater, and everyone is going to run with that. And that's the other side to it too. We didn't really talk about. Everyone is ripping Harbaugh, Michigan, and everything for not coming out and making a statement. Legally, they can't say anything about it because it's an ongoing investigation. So
it is funny how that goes on, man.
It's like ridiculous. And it's also to an extent, Jared, you're talking about the media and stuff. You don't want to say like fair, or, you don't want to say something. It's almost like not fair because the NCAA and the media can basically like drive the narrative and put out all these BS headlines, all these articles, and Michigan can't defend themselves. Even at Harbaugh's weekly press conference, because they do play this Saturday. I mean, he is basically deflecting it because he can't comment on it.
I don't want him to. And here's the thing is what do you realize in today's day and age is the more he comments, he slips up one time with what he says, and then it's like you're dead. Just I love it. Deflect everything. It's hilarious. It's so Harbaugh. The one question you get where he's like, "Do you think the coach is responsible for knowing everything that goes out of the program?" I think that question answers itself. It's like I love when these press conferences go on. I love to imagine Ted sitting in there with his old whatever folder you used to carry out with the questions written in it, asking these guys questions like that. One other thing I want to poke a hole in real quick, and this is another big thing people are throwing out. Man, look at the timeline. The timeline, notice as soon as Stallions gets hired, Michigan, man, they've really been dominating. What else happened during that in that exact same timeline? Urban Meyer left. Oh, and Michigan also had Aiden Hutchinson, number 2 pick overall, and David Ojabo on those teams. Literally 2 first-round pass rushers. Like the team was loaded. It's like, what are we even talking about? It's just funny, man. That's my favorite one. If somebody throws out the whole timeline thing, you really don't know what you're talking about.
Right. A whole offensive line that's in the NFL. Finally,
coming back again for another year. Yeah.
Right.
A quarterback that's a Heisman Trophy candidate. Like, okay, some sign stuff maybe helped a little bit, but like you mentioned, Deion and multiple other players have said you could have a whole team's game plan and know all their signs, and you still have to go out there and execute. You still have to go out there and make plays.
And I guess I don't want to is it an advantage that what they did? Yes. Is it quote unquote yes cheating? Yeah. Is it worth acting like they're the Houston Astros? I mean, no. It's a joke. It's literally you got a guy like Connor Stallions who I love it, man. I mean, Dave Portnoy made this joke. He's got a standing job with him at Barstool if he ends up getting fired. I mean, I'll throw the same thing at him, man. 3-point podcast. Come on, make it 4-point podcast. He's a guy who he's given a job. He's going to do it to the very, very best of his abilities. And he just happened to be a lot better at this whole rigmarole than anybody else was. And so it's cheating. And it is. Like I said, I think it's worthy of a suspension of some sort. 2, 3, 4 games, so be it. But to act like it's like they're going to be given the death penalty, like some people are throwing out, like what are we talking about?
Yeah. Well, you say cheating, I guess violating the rule as it's written, maybe if it's again alleged, but why in the hell do teams have 3 quarterbacks flashing these cards and all that? Because
so
they know people are stealing their signs or trying to. That's part of the game. I mean, it's that simple.
And here's what I love: it's people like, oh, you can't expect a program to learn new signals every week. That's what they do in the NFL. Like with a lot of their shit, they're redoing all this stuff, all their calls, everything,
right,
every week.
I mean, what do they do in baseball? Guy gets on second base, catcher and a pitcher mix up the signs. They change them. I mean, it's just part of these games, and it definitely has gotten blown out of proportion. But hey, go blue. That's all I can say.
Go blue. It'll be nice to just watch them on the field. Let's watch a game.
Again, that's what I love about it, man. I mean, winter might be coming, as they say, just because who knows what the hell's going to happen. I don't think it will, but just appreciate this team, man. Just bludgeoning teams. I love it. And the way they do it, running it right down your throat. Get ready for this Penn State game. It's Michigan State times 10. I cannot wait for that one. Really can't.
Should be fun. Well, we're recording this on Halloween night, Tuesday. Yesterday, Monday, was Equinox Day with all 4 pro leagues playing, including our Detroit Lions. Monday Night Football. Did you go to your tailgate, first of all, Jared? And let's start talking about the Lions. I mean, ups and downs in that game, but when it's all said and done, 6-2 and heading to the bye.
Yeah. No, I didn't. I was kind of kicking myself about it. It's tough for me to ramp it up, man, 2 days in a row anymore. I mean, it really is. It just is. And I had to work today, and I couldn't lose another day.
I hear you.
So, no, it's a bummer. I really wish I did. There's still more tailgates to come, whether this year or whatever. So I cannot wait. But no, I mean, here's where it's kind of funny how it's like we had this big time Monday Night Football win. Everything I've ever dreamed of in my life, and probably because of the Halloween party festivities, I fell asleep during the game. It was kind of a snoozer, man. It really was. Woke up, all of a sudden Jared Goff throwed a pick 6. Like that was a shock. Well, whoa, what's going on? Pick 6 the other way. Oh God, here we go. But they ended up righting the ship, so I woke up at the right time. Yeah. So yeah, I mean the team's great. I mean, it seems like a lot of today's news kind of has to do with the trade deadline. Mm-hmm. Where you guys stand on that?
I mean, I would have liked to see him go after a defensive lineman. Everyone was talking about Max Crosby, the guy with the Raiders who we saw last night. But Brad Holmes said that he wasn't looking to do any major moves like that. They did go out and get Donovan Peoples-Jones. So, Michigan fans like that. And he's another, solid depth wide receiver.
Number 2 or 3.
Yeah. I mean, St. Brown seems to get dinged up a little bit, whatever the heck's going on with Jamison Williams. So maybe it's nice to add another receiver. But yeah, Brad Holmes said he wasn't going to do anything major like that and shake anything up. And so he stuck to his word. I was definitely frustrated watching that game last night. I had to be like talked down off a ledge almost. It was just, it felt like, now looking back, it felt like the type of game like we've been watching Michigan for the last few years, where Harbaugh knows if they just don't lose the game, if they don't give up a bunch of points, that they're going to win. Like the defense is so good. It's just like, let's just get down, kick a field goal if we have to. Don't turn it over. The defense is going to dominate and we'll get the win. That feels like what the game was last night, because the Raiders weren't doing anything on offense. They only had one drive that was actually good and resulted in a touchdown. The problem was, if you play like that, you can't turn it over. And the Lions were turning it over, a couple fumbles. And then, like you said, the pick six, which made it a lot closer than it probably should have been, because they just absolutely dominated the Raiders in the box score. So all in all, like you said, Ted, how you set it up, 6-2 going into the bye week.
Second best record in the NFL.
Second best record in the NFL.
Right.
We've kind of talked about it before, that their schedule is quite a bit easier after the bye. I mean, they got the Chiefs, Seahawks, Ravens out of the way, Buccaneers. So at Lambeau, at Green Bay out of the way, they got to win there. So they got a lot of their tougher games out of the way. They're set up. They're set up perfectly.
And they have the time now to finally get healthy. This team has been decimated, really, and they still figured out a way to be 6-2. I mean, everybody's stepping up when they need to. How about Gibbs? I mean, the kid, I think now, and they were talking about it. And by the way, I think the Monday Night Crew, I think ESPN, I don't know what they signed Aikman and Buck for. I don't know where they stack up against the other networks, but they're the best. They're the best too, I think, out there calling NFL games. What do you guys think?
I agree. I mean, I do still like Nance and Romo. I feel like Nance is starting to lose his fastball a little bit, but I do still like them. No, Buck and Aikman are the best. They signed him to buku dollars. I mean, they're with the ESPN for a while.
In the presentation, I mean, Matt, you're a company guy, but I mean, it blows Sunday Night Football out of the water.
Yeah,
it blows Thursday Night Football out of the water. We don't even Thursday Night Football is not even up there for debate. It's they do it right, whether they got Manning cast or not. It's you feel big time. And that's kind of what was just sort of ironic about me falling asleep was that I'm just like, I become a spoiled fan with everything going on in this fall, man. Corona, Lions, Michigan. It's like, just another win. Who gives a shit?
Another win. Side note question with the Monday Night Football. We like to talk about music and TV production stuff and all that. I'm curious what you guys think of the new Monday Night Open with Chris Stapleton and Snoop Dogg, how they remade In the Air Tonight. Yeah. I love it. But I'm very curious what you guys think. It's a very different Chris Stapleton, Snoop Dogg, In the Air Tonight. They cut in the video for the game of that night. I'm curious what you guys think.
I mean, they went for it, which I appreciate. I always appreciate that. I don't hate it. I mean, it's good. It's a good song to pick. Chris Stapleton, I love him. Snoop Dogg, that's probably why they picked him, because everybody loves Snoop Dogg. So no, I mean, I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm glued to the screen when it's airing. I wouldn't say I'm, turning it off and putting it on mute either. It's good. Yeah, those things they kind of are what they are. Yeah. They seem like it seems like something that Ted really pays attention to and has an eye for.
All I'll say is I like it. I mean, I like Hank Jr. as well. I like Carrie Underwood. I mean, it's all part of the presentation. But the part I like about the Monday night theme, I don't know who she is, but I love the drum, man. I love the way she just bangs into it, man. I like that.
I forget.
Go ahead.
I forget who she is, but she's a pretty famous drummer.
Yeah.
I mean, we
probably should know that. Ted, honestly, you probably should. You're the music man.
I can only know so much.
I will say in that regard, you got to give it to Sunday Night Football. I mean, you can't beat the Sunday Night Football theme. You just can't. It's classic. It's timeless. Carrie Underwood. It's money.
I will say to tie that off, a funny, like maybe inside baseball. So one of my buddies who he's like a feature producer with ESPN. I worked with him a while back, like when we were both kind of starting, and he's worked his way up. He's a feature producer. He's told me that he tried to get clearance for In the Air Tonight multiple times for features, and the music department always turns it down because of how much money it would cost. Oh, yeah. So he's told me, like, I want to know, well, first of all, Monday Night Football, basically has no budget, can do whatever the hell they want. So he's like, I want to know how they got clearance, one, for In the Air Tonight, and how they got Chris Stapleton and Snoop Dogg
that's a
to
lot,
do the day. Like, he's like, I want one time to cut that tease for Monday Night Football with Chris Stapleton and Snoop Dogg and In the Air Tonight. So it's just crazy to think about that stuff. Like, you know, people, and this isn't trying to be like some insider or anything like that, but, you know, sometimes you just watch Monday Night Football. Oh, cool. That, you know, Stapleton and Snoop Dogg, that's kind of cool. You know, fun song. I mean, you don't think about everything that goes into getting that.
That's that's everything. I've told people like, I worked a week on that thing. What? Right. Like, it's funny. It is. You take it for granted. I mean, that's the presentation ESPN that we were talking about. It's awesome. I feel like I got to address the Gibbs thing. Ted, I'm kind of surprised you didn't do your whole, I guess me keeping some receipts on you kind of lessened the whole, I'm going to make you feel like an idiot on this podcast like you did a couple times.
But you can't win. I mean, you just can't win.
Hey, I mean, like Jared Goff said about the whole, I'm a poor man's nothing. I never said Jared Goff got lionized. So as long as that's not out of my resume, then we're all good. So with Gibbs is great. Wow, he looked freaking good. Wow, he looked good. I woke up for that touchdown. That was shortly after the pick six. He's everything that he was, and I know it's just one game. He's very good. I love him. He's a great player. He's electric. I'm gonna love watching him play. I mean, they finally kind of seem to get him going. And I think for a rookie, he just needed a game like that.
Yeah.
Once he had a game like that, he's gonna break through. We're not gonna be seeing maybe that performance every week, but we're gonna be seeing a guy who belongs in the NFL and who is maybe worth, you know, a high draft pick. I mean, now we're kind of seeing on the other end where it's like we're struggling with a pass rush, and I agree, and just kind of tie a bow on the whole trade deadline thing. I didn't want to make a deal. You never make a good deal. I mean, we saw it stings that it's the 49ers that got Chase Young. I mean, of effing course, but I didn't want to pay, you know, $2, what is the saying? Like $1 on the penny. Is that right? $1 on the penny for one of these pass rushers. I don't think I really don't think Chase Young wins you a Super Bowl. I don't.
Right.
I'm not sure the Lions are a Super Bowl team, but they're a damn good, fun team to watch. And they're a team that I think can beat just about anybody in the NFC other than maybe the Eagles. So we'll take our chances going to the playoffs. You never know. One game, they might get lucky against the Eagles. I have to apologize about one guy more so than Gibbs, though. And I still think Gibbs, I'll stand by what I said. I don't know if he was worth the 12th pick, but damn good player. Alex Anzalone. I mean, if you guys remember last year, he was kind of the scapegoat. I was like, man, this guy sucks.
Right.
He's making plays this year. He really has been. And he's one of those guys that, you know, Ted, I always think of like when you or whoever throws out random names, like from when you were a kid watching players. Alex Anzalone with the look, the hair, the visor, everything about him, the name, great name. Like, you're not going to forget that guy come 40 years. That's one of those random players that sticks in your brain. That's like Alex Anzalone. I remember that fucker. Yep. He's been great. I mean, he seems to be a true leader on that defense. I love watching him play. He's kind of who my eyes have been sort of more drawn to as of recent, more than Hutch. So I just got to give a shout out to Alex Anzalone, man. Never thought I'd say that.
Yeah, good call.
Or Damon Targaryen, as they call him.
It's a great nickname, too.
Well, I will say this, not to jump back to Hutchinson, but they did a pretty good job on him. He didn't basically have much of a game last night at all, did he? The other guys stepped up.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like teams are figuring out either double teams or chipping him or, you know, doing stuff like that. They're kind of figuring out, let's focus on Hutchinson and make these other guys beat us. And like you said, last night, the other guys did. So
you guys never said this, but is it fair to say, like, I'm not saying Hutchinson will never be this, but seeing Max Crosby, a whole game of him, and then seeing a whole game of Hutch, that's like, I mean, it's just two different stratospheres in terms of, that's what I think. Like, with people throwing out these trade deadline deals, Chase Young, if you want to be a Super Bowl contender, you go get a Max Crosby. That's a guy that can, okay, now we're like legit. We're going to maybe be the favorites to win a Super Bowl. I don't think a Chase Young does that for you. You see the difference between a guy like Aiden Hutchinson, Chase Young, and then like a Max Crosby. Not saying Hutchinson won't be that, but as currently as a second year in the league, he's not there yet.
Maybe the argument would be when you get Chase Young to put him next to Nick Bosa, maybe that makes it very valuable. So kind of the same. If you put Crosby next to Hutchinson, you make that deal. I would just say, Hutchinson's a few years behind Crosby. So, you know, maybe he'll get there, but Crosby he was a beast.
If I said right now you could trade a first, like, I don't know what that, I'm not even gonna say it because I'm gonna sound stupid and uneducated. I don't know what the deal would be for Max Crosby, but I saw people tweet now, don't let him leave Detroit.
Right.
I mean, he's a Michigan guy. Talk about just a perfect, like, he's a Lion. I would love to make him a Lion, man, some way, somehow, but probably never gonna happen.
Well, if Chase Young is a 3rd round draft choice,
I mean, he's a first round pick.
Gotta be. Yeah, it's got to be. And
it might even be like 2 first round, like a future first round and, current.
Right.
Well, he's been around a little while, right? How old is he now? Do you know?
He's
I want to say he was drafted 2019, 2020. Right
okay. Younger than I thought then.
Probably
like 3 years older than
the league, somewhere like that.
But I will say, after watching him up close and personal last night, I haven't watched a lot of Raider games, full games. He is a monster. I mean, he's a stud. There's no doubt.
Just going ahead, looking at the kind of this, I mean, people keep saying that we have this weak schedule. This is my first time actually kind of going through and looking at it. I mean, it is. You have the Chargers you're at Los Angeles versus the Chargers, but that's coming off a bye week. Team's gonna be fully healthy. You win that game, you're sitting at 7-2. You're home against the Bears, home against the Packers, on the road against the Saints, on the road against the Bears, home against the Broncos, on the road against Vikings without Kirk Cousins. You finish your home against the Vikings without Kirk Cousins, and you play the Cowboys. I mean, looking ahead, that December 30th night game at Cowboys, I think it's a Sunday Night Football.
Yep.
I mean, that's the Super Bowl or bust right there. You got to win that game. That's going to have probably the first round bye is probably going to be on the line for that game. Yeah. I mean, that's what it comes down to. So circle that one, December 30th. I don't know what you guys are doing. That's right around New Year's.
Oh, yeah.
Make sure you got that night clear.
It could be even for, the first seed in the NFC. It could be something like that. That's going to be a great game. But, getting 2 with the Vikings, 2 with the Bears, the one with the Packers, you already got Lambeau Field out of the way. I mean, it's setting up. It's the Lions.
It's the Lions.
Schedule. So you can't get too ahead of ourselves. But, man, they're looking good.
Well, go Lions for sure. That was a big win last night. Rest up, get healthy, and be ready to go for the stretch run. All right, we'll take another short pause, and we'll finish it up with a little bit of a surprise or two right after this. Guys, I think I told you that one of our sponsors, Tony Nash of AZee Branding, I should say. You can see it right up there on the screen. He had me on his podcast, and I'll tell you what, it's a lot different when you're not the one asking the questions, you're the one answering the questions. But it was a great experience. He has a great studio in downtown Owasso, and it was a lot of fun. But part of his show is he'll finish off with a guest with 50 rapid fire questions, and you just gotta give a quick answer and move on to the next one. So
real quick before we do this mind game, would you say we're gonna be happy with how we were portrayed in this podcast or not?
You don't think I'm gonna take care of you? Come on. You'll be fine.
I don't know, man. I'm curious. You've been teasing this podcast drop for a couple weeks now. I'm curious to see it when it drops. It'll
be on next week, so we'll see how it goes. I might have threw one dig at you, Jared, but nothing bad. All right, I'll just throw a few of these questions out at you guys. You can tell me what your answer is. This is kind of a tough one right off the get-go. So whoever answers it first, the other one's got a little time to think of it. If you could spend the day with anyone in the world, anybody that's alive right now in the world, who would that be?
LeBron.
Okay.
The first name that came to mind was Barack Obama.
That's a good one. Okay. I said, I'll fill you in on mine. I said Paul McCartney of the Beatles.
That's pretty cool.
So make it easier here. Baseball GOAT.
Oh, Barry Bonds.
Yeah, Bonds.
Oh, okay. I had Babe Ruth. You know that. I'm old school.
You know what's hilarious? I saw a video of like what workout regimens used to look like. There was one of Babe Ruth out there. This was different. It was literally like some guy that weighs like 300 pounds sitting on like what looked like a Meyer like mechanical horse, like vibrating his gut. It's funny, man, comparing Babe Ruth to freaking today's athletes, man, because knowing that's what his regiment was sitting on a vibrating horse while his gut just shakes around.
Yeah, eating 10 hot dogs while he does it too.
Yeah.
If you had a ticket to watch one player in their prime, who would it be?
Barry Sanders.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's like a clever, like, I mean, back when I was a kid, we saw Michael Vick in his prime. That's a good one when he was elite speed. I think it's you just got to throw LeBron. I mean, it's lame, but I'll say LeBron again.
All right. Mine was Pete Maravich. In 10 years, what will you regret doing way too much of?
10 years?
Working.
Yeah.
Working. But, I mean, probably. I mean, that's probably everybody probably has that regret at some point.
Well,
too much time at work.
Yeah.
Since I'm sitting here semi-retired, my answer was watching TV.
Yeah.
All right. This could be a tough one. A couple more. If you had one last meal, what are you eating?
Tacos.
Really?
Big old spread of tacos.
Mine, you got to be specific because that's like your last like prison meal.
One last meal.
I used to have some pretty immaculate cheat days back in the day, man, where I'd have like pizza, cheeseburgers, ice cream. So I mean, I would just say a buffet, man. You know what? Like an old country buffet, a buffet in its prime, maybe a Vegas buffet. That's my number one meal.
All right. Well, mine was simple, just cheeseburger and homemade fries. That's my last meal. I love cheeseburgers. We might have talked about this before. If you're stranded on an island with only one album the rest of your life, what would it be?
One album.
I mean, the first one that comes to my mind, I don't know, because Drake is kind of taking a turn for me, but it's probably Drake is really his first album, Take Care. It's incredible. It's one of the best. But his music is taking a turn, but
yeah. For the one of them that always come to mind, like an album front to back that I love, Justin Timberlake, Future Sex Love Sounds.
I was gonna say, when you said Justin Timberlake, I thought you were gonna go with 2020 Vision. Is that or what's
that's
the name
there
of that
too?
one?
Oh, I love that one too. But if I have to pick one, it's probably Future Sex Love Sounds.
Matt, one thing real quick. Have you been following, just because you mentioned Justin Timberlake and this was a big kind of news bomb, Britney Spears, I tell you what, I'm intrigued in this biography she wrote. A lot of biographies, they're money grabs. I could give a shit less. But you talk about somebody whose story has truly been suppressed. It's hers. So I'm curious to see what that book actually has. And I mean, clearly she's given some information that's never been heard before. So I'm surprised that wasn't one of your like Tedtertainment recommendations, Matt.
I was going to bring it up if we did a Tedtertainment and ask if you guys have, looked into this at all. It's a little head scratching, why she would come out with this stuff. It feels like a little bit of a money grab, but I mean, she's trying to tell her story, kind of like what you said, Jared. But it's also like, she's kind of crazy now. So it's also like, how much can you believe everything she's saying? So it's very interesting. Very, very interesting.
Yeah, it might be worth a read for sure. Two other quick ones, just sports related. The greatest Spartan of all time.
Magic Johnson. I mean, that's easy.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just go my personal. I mean, it's Magic, but I mean, Draymond Green. I've always said that, my favorite.
That's any sport.
I'm going to say I'm going to say Draymond. Ted said. I bet you said Magic Johnson also.
I did not. He was only there 2 years. I said I kept it local. Brad Van Pelt. And then I also threw in honorable mention Tom Izzo. Greatest Spartan of all time. Come on. Yeah. The greatest Wolverine of all time. Last one.
Did you say basketball or any?
Just greatest Wolverine of all time. That's how it was asked to me.
I mean, it's hard not to say. I was going to say Tom Brady also, but that's maybe more for what he did after.
Yeah, right. I would say.
I mean, in my lifetime, the guy who was like, you were cool. You were the king. It's Trey Burke. It's got to be Burke.
That's a good one.
If we're talking Wolverine, man, JJ McCarthy might be up there if they finish off this season the way that we're hoping. No,
I'd say you just can't say that yet.
Right.
That's
tough, man.
Glenn Rice, there's that's a little before your time.
Yeah, well, I remember watching Glenn Rice. Desmond Howard, I would probably say.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went right in my mode.
No. What am I saying? No, Charles Woodson.
There you go. I went right in my mode. Bob Ufer, greatest Wolverine of all time.
Yeah.
All right, let's move up quickly. We'll go into a little Tedtertainment. Is there anything else you want to add about Brittany?
No.
Oh, we're doing a Tedtertainment? I thought we were.
I think you got a quick review, don't you?
I got a quick review of The Exorcist. Yeah, you want to hear that?
What do you got?
Let's hear it.
Saw it today. Halloween.
On Halloween.
Did
you dress up going to the movie?
Did not dress up. It was, I will say this. Did either one of you, first of all, see the original?
Yeah. I actually don't know if I've ever watched it, but.
Okay. I would say, first of all, it's not as good as the original. Rarely are they, but it kind of followed the same vein. It tied in the two characters from the original, Reagan and her mom. Reagan was the one that was possessed. She was played by Linda Blair, but this one had two young, teenage girls that both were possessed. And I would say this is one of those movies that I'd say read the book. It was pretty slow the first hour and 15 minutes leading up to, the possession and all that. It was okay. It had one interesting plot twist that I kind of liked the way they tied it in, but I think the book would have been a lot better. 1.5. That's my rating.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll say this movie's been getting a lot of. It's been getting a lot of. I kind of teased you with that before. I mean, I heard the script is cheesy as hell.
It is.
So I'm kind of surprised that you didn't have a more vulgar review.
No, I mean, you pretty much knew what you're getting. It pretty much like the first Exorcist. Now, I will say I'll never ever forget that. I've talked about it before. 50 years ago. Think about that. And the mom was in this movie, Ellen Burstyn, and so she's got to be 90. But
was it scary? I mean, did it
this
make
one
you jump? Did it?
Yeah, there was a few spots where you jump, and again, if you'd never been to an Exorcist movie, it's gonna freak you out.
I mean, were you in this theater by yourself? 140 Owasso Cinemas. I mean, were you alone in this theater?
4 people, my wife and I, and 2 women.
I mean, if you were in there watching that by yourself, that sounds horrible. That sounds terrifying.
Right? I would have done it though. And then finally, this is like from your generation, Matthew Perry. Gone from Friends. That's a sad story that we had this week. You could almost see it coming, though. I mean, seeing him in that reunion thing, he had some health issues. I don't know if there was anything to do with the drug problems he had, but I think the drug problems that he had just wore out a lot of his organs, and just dead too soon, right?
Yeah, definitely too soon, and it's a generational thing for sure. I mean, but Friends, I mean, it transcends. I don't know if that's too big of a word, but it covers a lot of generations. But he's come out and talked about how when he goes back when he would go back and watch Friends, he could see basically what drug or what he was addicted to at the time.
Yeah, whether it was alcohol or drugs, depending if he's fat or skinny.
Yep, that season was drugs. That season was alcohol, whatever. So clearly he had some demons and stuff like that. And, it's just really a shame. It's sad.
I mean, he was a legend. I mean, like I said, I didn't really even watch Friends, but you can he had that comedic timing that you just can't.
He did.
I mean, just naturally just a freaking funny guy. I mean, I think about the thing that I've seen him most in was I think it's a failed movie, but Chris Farley and him, Almost Heroes. I mean, just kind of a hilarious duo, the two of them in that movie. So that's what I think of more than necessarily Friends. That's a movie I loved as a kid. So yeah, I mean, just gone too soon, man. It's a bummer. He really was like electric when he's on screen. He was a screen stealer for sure. Yeah,
you called it perfectly. He had great timing, and that sarcastic wit he had. Some of it was written, but I think a lot of it was natural. So Matt Perry gone. All right, guys, I think we made it through another one. Episode 287 of the 3 Point Podcast, presented by Memorial Healthcare's Wellness Center. Sign up for a membership. You can get up to 15% off. Check out more information at memorialhealthcare.org. Also want to thank AZee Branding Solutions, Jacobs Insurance Agency, Kori Shook and Associates Real Estate Services, Nelson House Funeral Homes, Success Group Mortgage and Servicing, and Rivals Taphouse and Grille. The Z92.5 Castle Game of the Week, Pontiac Notre Dame coming to the Nick to take on the Cavaliers, 10-0 against 10-0. Game will be on the on Z92.5 and NFHS. We'll try to get the microphones a little bit closer to us, and but it was fun. It was fun to do. I'll tell you, the 3-man booth is a lot of fun.
Yeah, when you don't have to be the lead man, you can just chime in whenever you want. That would be fun.
It's kind of unique, man. It's 2 play-by-plays. I mean, you're kind of a Suedo. You do a great job of like kind of filling in some gaps that just like 40 years of experience. You kind of. You just, you have those things in your head or whatever. But no, you guys are a fun little team. And like I said, it's unique. I don't know if that's got to be the only booth in the world that's kind of essentially 2 play-by-plays.
Well, I appreciate that. And we are having a lot of fun with it. And Matt, your 2002 team jumped on board as one of the support sponsors. And we appreciate that too.
Yeah. Everyone was happy to do it. Like when I sent the message out, reply. So
right.
Yeah, like I said, a bunch of them are going to be there at the Nick this Friday. So
all right, well, exciting. Hopefully they'll come up and say hi. All right, guys, let's get out of here. Peace and love, everybody. Be kind. Thanks for listening.